evening, and welcome back to Pretend World's Real People. As always, I'm your spooky host, Tyler. Okay, I don't know what that was. It started as Transylvanian Dracula slash Count and ended up into some really weird Javier Bardem stuff, which I'm not mad at. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm so glad that you've come back to the show. This is my favorite time of the year, this spooky season, Halloween season, the beginning of fall, and I am relishing in every single moment of it. I bought a Beetlejuice sign that lights up at Spirit Halloween, and I'm not mad about it because it wasn't cheap. So, yeah, there's not a whole lot to catch you up before we start this week's episode. I will say, still going very crazy as far as just making this whole career change work, and there are some things in the pipeline that could work out. We'll see. Outside of that, it's been a relatively, kind of calm week slash weekend. Don't have anything crazy for you. I took a really spooky hike that was really foggy, and I just kept looking for Bigfoot because that's what I do. I'm a grown man, and I'm still looking for Bigfoot. Okay, let's get away from that part of my nerddom, and let's dive into another part of my nerddom, because the two guests I have for you this week, that's right, I said two, are incredible. And yes, I am biased because I am a fan, but I wanted to bring them onto the show a little while ago. I thought I'd wait till I built up some clout and see if they were interested. Luckily, they are. And the two guests I have for this week are Kim Burns and Ketryn Porter of the amazing horror movie comedy podcast, Kim and Ket Stay Alive, Maybe. They are hilarious. They're a lot of fun to talk to. I hope I can bring them back because they are just they're so creative, and I mean that's kind of a vague brush to put onto somebody, but their show revolves around, would you survive this horror movie based off of what the main character does, but you don't necessarily know what they do until you answer how you would handle said situation. So if this person opens up a door into a basement, one, do you go in, or two, do you close the door and run out and try to figure out some other way to, escape said establishment? So, and that's that's a really horrible way to describe what the show is. It is so much more. It's so much fun. I'm a huge fan of them. I'm pretty sure I just completely ruined the synopsis of the podcast, but Kim, Kat, I tried. You guys are the reigning champs here. So let's just get into it. Let's dust off the cobwebs. Let's seal up that basement door. But, let's hang out in this spooky crypt and let's sit down and chat with the amazing Kim Burns and Ketryn Porter.
Hello. Welcome. I'm about to do like our intro to our podcast.
We're Kim and Kat from the podcast Kim and Kat Stay Alive, Maybe.
And I'm Ketryn.
I'm Kim.
And we are two best friends who have been doing a horror movie comedy podcast for the last almost 4 years. It's been 4 years. Yeah.
Whoa.
It's bananas. So, we bonded over our love of horror movies, that and many other things. And one of us watches a movie that the other one has not seen and walks them through step by step, kill by kill, asking them what they would do to stay alive and what they think the character does to stay alive. And that's what we do every week.
Mm-hmm.
In the most entertaining way possible.
Yes,
lots
of dumb jokes. Thank you.
The comedy is definitely in capital letters in our description of a horror movie comedy podcast.
Honestly, if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to this podcast, stop the interview right now. Go back and find it, subscribe, listen to it, because it's so much fun. My personal favorite being, I think I started listening to it for the Drag Me to Hell episode.
Ooh.
Oh,
I love Drag Me to
I
Hell.
was so hooked in.
A lot of mouth horror.
A lot of mouth horror. That's what I remember. And like some like Bugs Bunny style kills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there like an
Looney Tunes.
anvil? Looney
Looney
Tunes.
Tunes, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to
yeah.
say it, but yeah. I regret showing it to certain people every single Halloween because I introduce it as, oh, it's so much fun. It's Sam Raimi.
Right.
But they're not expecting mouth horror.
Right.
It's like just goofy enough to not be
Yeah.
that scary.
I didn't know that I had an aversion to mouth horror until Kim described this movie to me. And I've only seen it with Kim's eyeballs, not my own.
You
So
still haven't like tried to watch it?
I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times it's like we have to watch a movie every week for the pod, and like
Yeah.
taking notes on it is a pretty like time consuming endeavor, and our brains are so synced up that if someone were to ask me like, have you seen Drag Me to Hell, I'm like, yeah, I've seen
And
it.
then I like forget. Yeah, same. There's a specific movie that people ask a lot, and I'm Midsommar, and like people are always like, and I'm like, oh, I've seen it, but now I'm like actually not sure because I think I've seen
Yeah,
just through your eyeballs, but also lots of pictures.
right.
So between the two of those things, my brain feels like I've seen it, but now I'm like not totally sure.
Yeah. And
I gotta
that's
watch
what
it
it is
again.
for me for half of our movies. I'm like, did I watch that
I
or
have no
did
idea.
yeah.
It's like an intrinsic Mandela effect.
Yes. Oh my God. Tyler, you can't get us going on the Mandela effect.
But I have to. See, I'm running on about 45 minutes of sleep. So we're going to get as crazy
Well,
as we
going
can.
Mandela.
We're going there. We're going
well,
there.
before we get too crazy with that, I have to go back. This is all about origin stories and personal experiences. Essentially, this is your biopic via audio form, and very
Oh.
disjointed. But I do have to ask, what was your, because both of you are in the acting industry as well, like much like myself,
Yes.
which is why we do this podcast. But where did that start for you? I like to hear, people talk about when they're watching, I don't know, like Cheers on television, or they go and they see Tommy Boy and they go, I want to do that. Like, what?
I love that your two examples were Cheers and Tommy Boy.
Is that your origin story?
Yeah.
Tommy Boy for sure.
Now listen, Tommy Boy is a classic.
To be
Your
fair.
brain has the shell on it.
Are you
Great
talking? But yeah, whoever wants to go first, how did you get started? How did you get an interest in the entertainment industry?
I don't recall not being interested in it, and that's not a cop out. That's that like I was always looking for an opportunity to perform in some way from the age of like 3. For a while, Kim has heard this story thousands of times, but for a while my parents were like, do we need to take her to like a shrink because she doesn't answer to her name, she only answers to Alice. Like I thought I was Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Like my play clothes, I would only wear like little smocked dresses with like a bow in my hair and black patent leather shoes. Like I was fully method actor by the time I was 3. And then throughout, it was just like any time that I could like express myself through acting or performance, like even to like being the first to raise my hand to like read out loud in class. And so I started in theater. That was my first love. And then I majored in theater because I was like, listen, I'm not going to want to do any other profession. Like, I'm not going to want to spend 4 years in school studying any other profession. So, Dad, I'm going to college for theater. And then I met Miss Burns our freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a lucky quick connection to have freshman year.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were both theater majors. And the way our school worked, it's like you were kind of with the same people for all 4 years. So
Yeah.
that's
so
where,
first semester freshman year is when we met.
yeah. And then we drove out to California together after that. And
Did you
it's
know-
been love ever since.
Did you know right away? Was it an instant connection, or was there?
No.
I love that.
I had a Ketryn. I was like, I think if I tell my story, then you'll see the difference. Is like
Yeah.
Ketryn was immediately in the theater program. Like she was a theater kid.
Mhm.
And I was kind of like half theater, half hanging out with
Frat
what are
boys.
they called? Frat boys, yeah. So I was like half in, half cool.
The
half
shade
half
that I
theater
deal
dork.
with.
That was a hammer of an insult.
Tyler, I'm telling you, it's
My
I
God.
was
constant
half
with this
a
bitch.
dork.
Dork.
So it took me like
Jesus.
2 years, eventually, like more like my junior years, when I kind of started to be like more fully theater. And that's when we got cast in a play that got us like very, very close together. So
Yeah.
Oh, and so what was your background like before that? If you were if you were teetering between the cool kid crowd and the theater dorks, how did you know?
because I wasn't always doing it the way that Ketryn was. Like it's interesting to hear her talk about it because I'm like, oh, I guess that was me. I liked performing a lot, but I would say I was much more shy. Like I'm not the person that would raise my hand to read, but there's like because to me that's me reading, and there's like a difference between like, oh, now I'm like acting, or even like playing the flute. I played the flute for a long time.
Isn't that so cute?
God.
Since like 4th grade. So like I was always loved like doing stuff, and my friends and I would make up dances and things, but besides playing the flute there wasn't a lot of like opportunities for acting itself, so it's not something I thought much about or knew much about. And something we talk about a lot on the pod is like our differences in the way we were raised, and her having hearths and me being from the other side of the tracks sort of thing. So like I remember there being like an audition for the Wizard of Oz, like when I was maybe 7th grade or something, or 5th grade, and it was like in the neighborhood or whatever, and like we couldn't afford it. Like you had to like pay. It was like at the rec center or something like that, or somewhere like that. You know what I mean? So I like couldn't do it. So I like and I like remember that. Like I remember wanting to be in the Wizard of Oz and I couldn't. And then
You would have been
halfway
the
through,
cutest Dorothy.
I know. I really wanted to be
Absolutely.
the Wicked Witch of the West, though.
Oh.
Like that's when Steph Dawson started calling me Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah. Well, the Wicked Witch doesn't sing as much as Dorothy, so that, you know.
I don't know if there was singing involved, but
Oh, then you would have been
hope
great.
not. wouldn't have made it then. Ironically, then I went to high school, and the only play they did was a musical, so I was like too scared to even audition because I don't sing. And then I moved, and the new high school had drama as a class. And band as a class too, and it was like you only had 4 classes a semester, so I was literally like half my classes were just drama and band.
And who's the dork again?
Yeah.
I'm just
well, I
curious.
wouldn't take marching band. I refused, since it was separated by semesters. I hated marching band, and so I was like, I'm not doing it. I refused to like go, so I wouldn't sign up for marching band. I would only do orchestra the other semester.
Orchestra.
I loved how you
Wow.
drew the line at marching band, and
I
then you went to
know.
college going, you know what? I'm gonna buy a leather jacket. I'm gonna hang out the frat walls. Change is coming.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't until high school that I really actually did like any like real, being in a play, besides just like making up stuff with like my siblings or kids on the street, So yeah, then I was also a theater major, and I was a double with many different things. I started as a theater math double major. So
Yeah, right? Have you ever heard that in your life?
I honestly, like, that should be the red flag for bipolar disorder.
Right?
honestly, now that I'm describing lots of things, I'm like, yeah, because like I also was on an honors college scholarship, so I had to keep a really high GPA, like 4.8 or something, or 3 point whatever,
Yeah.
2.2 points away from the top. But I would also be drunk all the time, so I was just really good at school.
Yeah, she was really good at school.
So
So
you
I would
were
just be drunk with the frat boys, and then also doing math and theater. What's wrong? Who is that? I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Oh, can I purchase your life rights to write
Right?
your story?
Like, what a weirdo.
You're like good Kim Hunting, you know? You're,
Yes!
Oh my
Kim Hunting. Yes.
Oh my God, that's a perfect description.
that's crazy. See, this is why I love asking that question, because it's always different every single time, especially with co-hosts for
Yeah.
a show, you know? So like you go through college and you dip away from frat boys and
Eventually, I
you're-
dive deep into theater. We
Yep.
get cast in the play Uncommon Women and Others together,
Mhm. Yeah.
along with like 3 other people who are now our like very, very best friends. Like we visit each other once a year, all 5 of us. And that play kind of like, solidified our friendship, I would say.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the
And then,
rest is history.
yeah, after that, you just moved to LA. Why not New
Yeah.
York? Why not? I guess not Canada.
I know why I didn't go to New York. I didn't go to, I wish I liked New York because I'm very close to my parents and they live in Baltimore. So like that definitely would have been, from a convenience standpoint, I wish I liked New York. But for me, it came down to, both of my cousins lived in LA. One of the cousins was someone that grew up like a sister with me. So like I already knew that I had like connections there, and knowing that the career path that I was choosing was going to be like 99% rejection and despair, I was like, I don't want to do that in like a cement box where like I pay $1,500 to live in a closet. Like I'd rather do it where there's sunshine. That was how I decided that, basically.
That's
I don't know why
warranted.
Kim didn't go to New York.
That's
She
you know
follows
what?
me everywhere.
I didn't think that far ahead with here's what happened for me. I just wanted to do more TV and film. And at the time, it was quite a few years ago. So I think they do a lot more TV and film there now. At the
Yeah.
time, it was kind of just like Law and Order, maybe a few other things here and there. You know what I mean? So like, I just didn't, again, I don't sing, so I wasn't trying to do Broadway, stuff like that. So for me, LA felt like the first choice to go first. But in my brain, I always thought I would go to New York eventually. I thought I would go to LA for a couple years and then probably check out New York. And I didn't think about the sunshine and the California. And then I got here, and we're both from the East Coast. I'm from Philly. So like once I was here for a few years, I was like, oh, oops, I don't ever want to live in winter again. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I'm here.
Yeah.
I guess I'll never do that New York thing. Like I kind of wish I did at some point, but it probably would have required me going there first and then coming here.
Yeah. Thank goddess you didn't.
Yeah.
I would have been so sad and
I
lonely.
know. Yeah. Plus, like, because Ketryn had her family here, we did have a place to like, we came and visited. I had a person to go with and like a place to stay, you know, so it did make the transition easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't by yourself in a Honda Accord, just hoping you wouldn't have to live out of it for, 2 to 3
Exactly.
months at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, now that you bring up, honestly, I want a bumper sticker, Kat, of what you said about New York. What did you
was
say?
it?
I've never really liked New York, or I've never really.
I didn't want to suffer rejection and despair in a cement box
Yeah, like that.
in a closet that I pay $1,500 for.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who have been on this show. They live in New York. They love it, which is great. But I look at it as there's pillars of cement and stone that take away the sunlight, and then you have rats everywhere.
Yeah, and the
Big
thing is,
rats.
like Kim and I've spent a lot of time in New York. Like 2 of our best friends lived there. 2 of the 5 of us that we were talking about lived there. So like we would visit New York a lot, and I objectively was like, I get the charm. I understand it. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I think I like it a lot more. I think there's like culture and art stuff there that's like we don't quite have as much here, and like it's so much easier to get places there. Like I like walking around. I like that you can kind of just go out and walk around, and like who knows what your night will be, you know.
Yeah.
There's less of that here. You kind of have to like plan where you're going here a bit more.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And there's like, just like festivals that pop up there, and like
Yeah.
just a little more like arts and culture, I think. Not that that doesn't exist here at all, but it's not quite the same.
It's
Yeah.
I don't
LA.
think. Yeah.
And
it's true.
the closer that I can get to just like being an old crone living in a cottage in the woods.
Exactly. Yeah. You
The
want
happier.
to get farther and farther away from culture,
from the city.
I like being in it.
Yeah. I don't want to be urban. I just want to be like dressed in herbs and feeding my cats. Like that's all I want to do in a cottage.
Petting moss all day.
Yeah.
Are you trying to say you want to be a female version of whatever the green god from Men was?
Yes.
Yes, that's me. Yeah.
Sorry,
100%.
listeners. Spoiler alert for Men.
Yeah. That's my jam. Yeah. I don't
mean,
want to.
Honestly, that really is your jam.
I know.
I don't know, spoil it more, but like you just having you
I
and more
know.
of you.
Yeah. And just like kind of creeping around covered in leaves. I feel like
That's wow.
it wouldn't even like, you wouldn't even be shocked. Like you would just be like, hey, I like your leaf dress today,
Yeah.
you know.
That is a terrifying image. I'm just filling up in Northern California, and she just pops up out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and suddenly she can follow me the same speed as my car without running. This is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So,
That's how I spy on Kim on all of her dates.
oh,
I just dress as a bush. Make sure
Yeah,
everything's
no one
going
ever
well.
sees her. No one ever sees it all.
speaking of which, coming from a fan, how are the dates going?
Really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good smile. That's a good news smile.
Yeah. Currently good, but still very new with one particular person. But been on many dates for me. Making it past like 3 is good, honestly. And like we've been on like 8 or 9. So
Yeah.
it's good
Dude.
sign.
And
Good
I met
things.
him.
Yeah. And on the
And
last one, yeah.
was he cleared?
He was cleared, but I'm also just like super chill about it. And like my clearance is like far more stringent than it's ever been. So like
Yeah.
I'm
She's
not
been burnt before.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure that like I'll be granting full clearance until like after the wedding day at this point, which is just like, you know, when you're burned, you have to change your policies. So that's where we are.
Even after the wedding, you have to give it another 6 months just to ensure
You know what,
things are
Tyler,
going
you're
well.
right. You're right. I think I'm still being a little too lenient. I think you're right.
Hope that I give full clearance by the time the wedding comes. I hope I'm on board.
Sorry, I had to take us on that tangent because you guys just go listen to the podcast. Like I can't. It's so hard to describe.
It is wild though how much I have talked about it throughout the years. Like I'm embarrassed kind of like about some of I've grown so much. And
You
I think that
have.
when you
Yeah.
do listen to the whole thing over time, you can see that journey and you can see the growth. You know what I mean? But if you were to just like pop one episode on, like I don't know what's going on. And sometimes I'm like, I'm a crazy person. Like, you know, I'm like embarrassed about some of it because I'm just like, oh my gosh. But over time, the growth does happen. So
Yeah,
I don't
because
know, it's good.
I mean, I never really thought about it this way, but it's like obviously we are not a serialized podcast where we are technically standalone episodes, but there is a through line of our personal lives. So it's like, yeah, I do think that like both of our journeys I think are relatable in to people, you know, and I know that I'm always really comforted by people who are in the public eye and sort of are really honest about their stories and outspoken about their experiences, because that goes such a long way to like fight loneliness, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I get a segue into that was actually one of the reasons that I wanted to start doing this podcast, was because 4.5 years ago at this point, my husband was in a car accident. He's fine. But it required a lot of just like me being at home, taking care of him, not really hanging out with anybody. This was pre-pandemic. And so just doing things around the house, I would lose myself in podcasts, and you get attached to the hosts and they affect you and you care about them, and they provided me a lot of comfort in a time when I felt really really lonely, and wanting to sort of spread that, and knowing how much Kim and I are just like very excited to just be in love with each other and like just be great friends, and we like laughing and we like supporting each other and we like talking about horror movies. It just seemed like a really obvious endeavor for us to embark upon with someone that I trust. You know, that's the other thing.
Yeah, who passed the clearance
Exactly.
like 10 years later.
Yeah, I think that's a good point and like something to remember. Although, like, just looking back, you can't help but feel kind of embarrassed because of like the things that I like the way that I've been. It's not like horrible or anything. It's just like, when you see when you kind of unzip yourself a little and you're
Yeah.
so vulnerable, just like knowing that you're vulnerable and looking back on it makes you feel like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
But I agree that I do think it is a good thing overall that like, I'm sure other people feel that way and have felt that way in life. And therefore you're like, oh, definitely not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, both of you hit the nail on the head by bringing up that idea of like connectivity and this sort of like listener based. It sounds really odd, but intimacy. When you do
Mhm.
sort of take off that facade, and it's not, "Hey, welcome back to the,"
Yeah.
Right.
it's very just personal. I think that's why I definitely enjoy the podcast, and it helped when I was starting this podcast. And it's just to
Oh,
be
thank you so much.
Aw, thank
yourself,
you.
be your
Yes.
own creative, goofy self. The amount of times like my girlfriend and I would drive, up to the mountains because we were both in Colorado, and we'd listen to the podcast. And the second a dating snippet came up, we turned the volume up. Like, oh God, okay, but turn the 18 down. We don't care about that. We need to know what's going on right now. So there's
I love that.
there, and it's just it's it's something that keeps people coming back, and obviously it really adds to the success of your show as well. I mean, 4 years on, that's not an easy feat for any project, or especially a podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I attribute our longevity. I mean, Kim and I have a great relationship, obviously, but I attribute a lot of our longevity to Kim saying, "Yes, I'll do this podcast with you, but my number one rule is that it has to be fun." And so the moment that it's not fun anymore, I don't want to do it. And I'm really glad that she said that. I think especially like as creatives, and in this where we live, you forget that the creativity is supposed to lift you up, not drain the life out of you.
Yeah.
And something that starts fun,
Mhm.
so having that in the back of my head for someone like me who, can struggle with positivity, struggles with anxiety, struggles with, depression. I think just having that very clear, concise goal of fun has been extremely helpful for me personally. So I definitely am grateful to Kim for setting that standard before we even started.
I agree. High five to
You're like,
me.
high five to Kim.
She concurs. Well, especially living in Los Angeles, and being actors yourselves, it's that rejection takes a lot out of you for all the hours you put in, for all the focus you put, for all
Whew,
the potential hope for, oh, maybe this is, it tears your soul apart. I mean,
it
I
does.
I can't even tell you how many times we've talked to people on this show, and you hit your rock bottom, and somehow we still find a way to keep going, and it
Yeah.
it works out, or it doesn't, and you keep pushing on. So when it
Yeah.
comes to being in Los Angeles, especially for the earlier years that you guys were out there, were you looking for representation right off the bat? Were you trying to find student films? Like, what was your way of gaining some traction and adding to your reel to make this dream a reality?
Yeah.
I,
I mean, I was like, yes, all of the above.
yeah.
I was like, I took all the classes, I did all the workshops, I did student films. Like, I was like, yes, 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 hitting it hard, hitting the pavement. 300 agents later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hand modeling, doing it
Yeah.
all. Yeah. And then like, but it like does change over time because like after a while you're like, okay, I don't want to do student films anymore,
Yeah.
and things like
Yeah.
that. So, but yeah, for me, I definitely like hit it hard in the beginning.
Yeah, I think same. I think Kim in general tends to have more stamina for that kind of stuff than I do. So there are
Mhm.
definitely times when I look back on my 20s and I go like, you know, my priorities were not necessarily aligned in the same way that they would be if I did it today. But I
Hmm.
also have realized that, you know, you can't know until you know.
Yeah.
You can't be the person that you're going to be until you have the experiences that make you that way. So, you know, I think everyone's going to have their struggles when they come out here. I think Kim and I both had our struggles. I think they were different in some ways and some were exactly the same, you know,
Hmm.
just thousands of agents and, you know, just trying to get somebody to you know, tell you what box they want you in and then also realizing that you aren't going to fit into it. So what was the point of like it's, you know, just the all of that.
And what I mean, this is something that it's more LA than anywhere else, but what were I guess not what were, but what was a box that somebody tried to fit you into that you knew right off the bat you wouldn't match, but you gave it 110% and it may have taken it back a couple of years career wise. Can you think of an experience?
I I have one. I don't know if you uh there was a particular casting director and I think this was indicative of how a lot of people felt about me is like I tend to read just in my face kind of young, you know, like I don't have super angular features. I have puffy cheeks and whatever. And so I had a casting director say to me one time, he was like, your face is so cherubic, but then like you come in and you're like kind of a bitch. It's like,
Oh my god.
you know, and like what he meant was like
Not
that.
wrong.
Yeah, yeah. And like what he meant was like I tend to carry myself with sort of a little bit of a masculine energy in the sense that like I stand very grounded, I speak very directly. I'm not particularly afraid of my anger, that kind of thing, but I think people wanted me to be sort of like a girl next door brunette sort of thing. Oh, and to be skinnier too. Yeah, that also. That one as well.
Jesus Christ. God.
I feel like for me, I always just struggled with like, it's so funny because this is a side note, but if anyone knows about human design, once I learned about human design, I was like, oh, suddenly things make sense to me. It's like an offshoot of like astrological stuff combined with many other things. But one of the things about mine was like, it's basically like equally introverted and extroverted kind of thing. And
Mhm.
that's always how I felt, where I was like, oh, sometimes I feel like the girl dancing on the table at the party. And other times I feel like being in the corner by myself, not wanting to talk to anyone, you know? And I feel equally that, and they feel both very me and myself and honest. And they always want you to like
Pick
find
one.
your essence, you know, and
Mhm.
be one thing and like put that into a picture. And I was like, well, I don't know which part to put in. Like, I don't know. It was always very hard for me to like pinpoint my essence for people.
Yeah.
But also this is just more recently. Um, so I'm actually not like pursuing acting anymore at the moment. And I feel really great about it. It feels amazing. Um, but it was a journey to even make that decision, you know, and it was like a real identity crisis kind of thing that I went through, and all good things. But one of the part of that like journey was like shaving the side of my head. And I still like stayed in acting for a little bit after that, even though that was, I can see now, kind of the beginning of the end for me. But you know, I got new headshots with that and stuff like that. And like, oh man, can they not see a person with half their, like this, just a side shave as nothing, as like only a box that is not, I'll tell you what, not my essence.
Right.
Because all that I would get called in for from that point forward was butch lesbians,
Oh,
or like army generals, like the people in charge, you know what like the
Yeah.
tough, like the badass toughs. And like I'm just neither of those things. And like, look, I'm a really great fucking actor, so I can like act with a doorknob, but like at the end of the day, there is someone walking in that audition room that like is just naturally that, like just embodies that completely. And I'm just not ever going to be. Like, that's
Yeah.
just not me and not who I am. But like, because I had a side shave, they just could not see me as like being like the girl next door anymore, which I am a bit more of, or like just the emotion. Like, I'm like the chick in the army who like goes home and like has emotional things with her husband, you know what I mean, or whatever like that. Or so I'm not the general. Like,
Yeah. Frankly, I would be more
you're the
likely
general.
I'm the
Yeah,
general. Yeah.
Seriously.
exactly. So it
Yeah.
was just like so funny, like the things that I would be brought in for, and I was like, this is honestly a waste of my time and a waste of your time. Like, we're all wasting our time
Yeah.
with this. Why why are
Yeah.
you even like giving this to me?
Yeah, and I am still pursuing it, but I'm definitely unwilling to maintain a physical appearance that no longer feels like me. So I avoided doing things like coloring my hair in an unnatural color, getting the tattoos that I wanted. And much like Kim's journey was stepping away from acting for the time being, mine was that uh, I I don't want to step away. I also don't want to compromise who I am. So if that means that I get less auditions because casting directors are notoriously struggle with sort of, they like boxes, and someone with blue hair and tattoos fits into a specific box for them, even though everyone on the planet is multidimensional. Like, it's, but it's very difficult to have people see past whatever the box is. So who knows how this will work out for me, but I'm certainly unwilling to not express myself through my physical appearance because somebody might want me to play a girl next door, because girls next door can't have tattoos or blue hair, apparently.
See that that brings up the whole idea of CDs saying they're all about inclusivity. But with that still comes boxes, right? I mean,
Right.
it's
Mhm.
I have friends who are covered in tattoos and they're the greatest performers you've ever met. Have not booked in years
Right.
because
Mhm.
of that. But I'm I'm hoping, with some of the projects that are coming out soon, maybe that'll change.
Yeah.
I hope for all of our sake they start opening their eyes a little bit more to less of that. Because I will say, I don't think I've ever said it on this show. The first acting job I ever had was playing in an Indian IT tech with the accent and everything
Mhm.
at 19.
Yep.
I didn't know any better, so I
Yeah.
I
Right.
just did it.
Yeah.
None
And
of us did,
yeah,
like, it's, I
Yeah, and
I
you're
get
like, "Oh my
it.
gosh, I booked a role, yay!"
Right.
Like,
I get money.
like,
Yeah.
we're
Oh,
just
yeah.
Yeah.
exactly, you
It's
just jump at, like, whatever they give you.
yeah. Next thing you know, you're Fisher Stevens 2.0, just doing an accent. But
Yeah.
but I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like it's something that has to be addressed and discussed now more than ever with this industry because people are more than just one or two things and they really need to embrace that.
Yeah, and I think it also, like, if we sort of extrapolate it to a macro level, like, putting casting people into boxes is detrimental to the audience watching it, obviously. But I specifically remember, like, seeing, I talk about this a lot, like how Disney princesses really messed us up. Like, I watched media and consumed media that told me that I was too loud, that I wasn't um worth as much as the girl who got a lot of male attention, that I needed to act in a certain way and be in a certain way to be taken seriously. And I think that held me back for a long time, feeling like, oh, I'm supposed to be this, but like Kim knows, like, I just can't fake anything. Like, I can't fake my facial expression. I can't fake my annoyance. I can't fake anything. So, like, I was just, you know, it was just never going to be me.
Which is fair. I mean, it's all about subjectivity and creativity, right? So it's all a balancing act, and just I don't know. This whole industry is wacky,
Yeah.
but the creative part of it is fun. You
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
I have a feeling both of you are going to have really fun things to bring up for this next question, which is all about the idea of a party story. Now, I try, I have the hardest time explaining what this question is
I'm intrigued.
because
I
I
can't
get too
wait.
excited. It's
Oh,
well, it's a party story in a sense, not a story that occurred at a party, though it could have happened at a party. Who knows? But if you have a party story based around an experience you had within the industry, so it could be a bad or great casting experience. It could be meeting somebody who you've looked
mm.
up to who was a complete dingus. Just something really crazy that stands out in your mind so well that you could easily recount those moments at a party. Do you have any experiences like that you could share with the listeners?
I have uh one that is just uplifting because you always hear about it's such a bummer to hear about like actors that you respect or famous people that you respect and love and then you find out that they're jerks. So I do like to tell, I don't know if it's the most interesting one, but I do like to tell this one because I like to tell people about celebrities that are nice. Um I had like a co-star on the show Scorpion, and Robert Patrick was the lead on that show. And he always plays like really terrifying, intimidating characters. I don't know if you watch what was the show that John Cena did that I love so much? But
Peacemaker?
Peacemaker,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, so, like, he plays those kind of roles, like, really well, like the abusive Nazi dad, but, like, he
I
was
only know
the
him as Terminator 2.
Terminator 2, I mean, that as well, but, he's the biggest name on the call sheet, and he and I were sat next to each other in the makeup trailer, and I was, like, shaking, I was so nervous, and he just started talking to me like I was a normal person, which I am. Spoiler alert, I am a normal person. But like he treated me that way and we just bonded over our love of our pets. And, it was just like the most normal, chill, but active, like he was an active listener, like actually cared what I had to say and was just like so supportive and made me feel so much more comfortable than literally every other person in that cast. Um so yeah, and he's a really successful actor and he's great and he's like the opposite of the characters he plays.
Oh my god, RP coming in hot.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's a big teddy bear.
Yeah, he is. He and his wife like love their dogs so much, which I obviously relate to.
What about you? What about you? You're thinking real hard over
I
there.
know.
I
I
know you
was like,
have
oh my,
something.
I had a lot of pressure for trying to remember. No, I actually have multiple. I was trying to decide because one actually was a similar thought of like someone that I just think is wonderful. And that's mostly from working in restaurants for many years. So I've waited on many a celebrity. Um, and but had a similar I mean, there's many that I can say are wonderful and many that I can say are not. But um specifically, I was thinking of Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine as the
Yeah.
best human in the universe. If anyone was wondering, best human in the universe. I have waited on him for years, actually. But okay, I have two other stories that I'll tell. One was just like a moment when you feel really like proud. Like this is like there's certain things that made me feel like I could stop pursuing the business for a while. Like if my friend wants me to act in something, I'm more than happy to. Like I love acting, you know what I mean? But I was like, this isn't, the business is making me miserable. And there's like certain things that I like did accomplish and did do that I felt really good about. And like I did pursue, like I really hit the pavement hard. So I was like, all right, well, it's not like I didn't try. But like Kat and I actually like produced our own like short film and she wrote it and we both starred in it together and it like won lots of awards, which was awesome. we were up against each other at one point for Best Actress
We
at
were.
one festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we won like Best Short there. And then it also screened at like the Chinese Theater for one festival, which is like amazing, you know?
Oh my God.
And when it screened there, someone like reached out, like found me through it, basically was like looked up our film somehow. Maybe we had a website, I don't really remember, and then like went through the website and like contacted us through there to like get in touch with me to like ask me to be in like her feature, just from like watching me there. So like just things like that is like a really cool, you know, stories, I feel like, to be like, you know, good things can happen in that way. And very like validating and like feel good, you know. And then also one thing that I talk about a lot because people find it very interesting and fascinating is hand modeling.
Yeah,
Because
I was
I've been
just
doing
about to
that.
say.
I've been doing that since I moved to, like, that's the longest running agent I've had. That's actually, I still have a hand modeling agent. So that one I still do. 'Cause- and people ask a lot of questions about, they just find it fascinating, which it is. Like, I can guarantee that you've seen my hands on TV. Like, there's no doubt about it. I've done a lot of different things, and I was like trying to decide. I was like, what's a good story to tell about hand modeling? Yeah, I've done all kinds of things. Like Apple, like when Siri first came out, I hand modeled like for a commercial for that. So it was like before it existed. We had to sign like 10,000 NDAs and like couldn't bring a phone or anything inside with you, like, because it was secret. It's such a big deal, and it's so funny because now Siri is like
A joke.
Siri.
Yeah.
Fucking Siri.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
This
And it was like
bitch.
so exciting then. Like it was literally like they were like teaching us how to use it. You know, it was very cool. So I've done like a ton of like technology, phone stuff, and then like a lot of food things and a lot of like hand doubling. So like anytime for the majority of commercials, if you're watching like a mom who's like making food for the kids or whatever,
Like someone
and
with my hands,
yes, and the
which are
product
not
is like
fit for.
Tostino's pizza rolls, when they do the close up of the pizza rolls with like the mom, quote unquote, holding it, it's someone else's hands.
Yeah.
More often than not. And so usually they were my hands.
And just to illustrate, like people think like a hand's a hand, right?
No.
Just look at my hand versus Kim's hand on camera. Like, do you
Should we hold
see?
things?
Yeah. Like,
her hands are like borderline angelic.
yeah, I
They
know.
really are like
Like,
very,
how the hell are those real working hands?
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
Like they're
They're
truly
magical.
so beautiful. Yeah. I thought she was going to talk about, because she started talking about our film that we made when we got to view it at the Chinese Theater. And there's one shot where it's
Speaking of my hand.
she fully blocks my face with her beautiful hand on the big screen. So it was literally just Kim's giant, beautiful hand on the side of my face.
I'm like caressing her face, but then my hands are so big that like it's cupped her entire head. I mean, it's gorgeous.
It
you
was
know
gorgeous.
what I mean? But
it
like,
was
yeah,
truly.
And I have long model fingers. They pick up her whole face.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking when you're holding the water bottle. I'm like, yeah, those are totally model fingers.
That's why they're also
Yeah.
Nosferatu hands.
Right.
They double as Nosferatu hands. That's the other thing.
Yeah. She also has like, she's like a petite little person, but like her arms are like the wingspan of Michael Phelps. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen.
What?
So it's as if she's like a Stretch Armstrong and someone just like took her fingertips and just like pulled out of her shoulders her arms.
I think I
it's
stunted
wild.
my growth by smoking when I was like 12, probably.
But why did your arms
I
not?
was trying to say it all went into your
Yeah.
arms.
Why did it only stunt the growth of your trunk and not your arms?
Because I don't know. It wasn't proportional stuntism.
We have a lot of science on our podcast too.
Oh, and it holds
Yeah.
up. I mean,
Yeah, it does.
screw the scientific journal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I
to be fair, in the age of just saying untrue shit and like letting it stand, we do on our Patreon have a postmortem where we go back and like correct all of the wrong things that we say, or the things we're just like, I don't know what animals can't jump. let's find out, so
Yeah.
we do fact check ourselves.
I will say for hand modeling, it's always been a joke with friends and people I work with that like when I book a job, I'm like, oh, I have a hand job tomorrow. So mostly working at restaurants, I would be like, hey, can you cover my shift? I have a hand job.
Yeah.
And that they always get a kick out of that, so like then they
It
pick up
doesn't
your
get
shift for
old.
you.
No.
Yeah.
But I went many a long year with only holding phones and Tostina pizza rolls. And then one day I did get the call and I spent an entire day hand modeling dildos. It was a real hand job. And I am the hands of like an entire line of German sex toys
Yeah.
on their website.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
So I guess that's a party story.
You should. But Kev, I don't know why you didn't save that story for your life's greatest accomplishment story.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's why I saved
why-
it for last. I was like,
Okay.
well, this is the ultimate.
I mean, who
Yeah.
needs an Oscar when
Yeah.
you're holding the Dragon Blaster 3000?
Exactly.
My God, the Dragon
seen
Blaster
it.
3000, incredible.
I mean, there's obviously a German voiceover for it, which I won't do,
Yes.
so I don't want to
That's-
offend the German population who's listening to this podcast.
That's so kind of you. We would go right for it.
Yeah, we'd go right for a terrible German accent.
I can only do flamboyant German, so
Oh,
like Sam
okay.
Rockwell, Jojo Rabbit German. That's where I live.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Like,
can't
I
do
can
the
only
Michael
do Cockney
Fassbender.
British. Yeah.
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 I can only do a German accent that nobody from Germany would identify as a German
It's
accent.
German.
Oh, I would love to hear this.
Hold on, give me a sentence.
Um.
This is my German accent. No, but see, then I'm French too.
No, so yeah,
Yeah.
you were like,
I
you were
was
like
all-
the chef from like,
I was all over the European map.
or Sebastian from The Little Mermaid.
Or Sebastian. Yeah. It was but yeah,
Sebastian?
Tyler, we just go for it.
It was very
You
like
know?
Peter Stormare being German.
Yeah, like you just gotta sell it, and then like
Yeah.
so few Americans travel to other countries that like they don't know if you're doing a good job or not.
Speaking of service, Kat, have you worked in the service industry before?
Poorly, yes.
Okay. the
For like
idea
2 months, she could
Yeah.
do it.
Oh, I mean that's long enough. That's experience, right?
It wasn't
I mean,
2
was
months. It was
Was
a
it 1
month.
week?
It was a month. Yeah, it was a month. And I came home
And
crying
like
every
in
day.
college.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well-
I'm not cut out for it. I
No.
worked in customer. So I sold.
Yeah, she worked in retail.
Yeah, like I sold stuff to people. I could get people to like buy shit. And was pretty good at it, but like I hated it and like
Yeah.
just felt my soul like crumbling away. But no, like I up there with like the most difficult professions is like doctors, teachers, servers. It is like, I'm not exaggerating when I say I came home every day crying, like every single day crying. And like, I just was like spilling food, ringing up stuff wrong, like just crying in the restaurant. Like I was a hot mess. And so I just have nothing but respect for specifically Kim, who just did it for so long. I'm just like, you're a literal superhero to me. Truly.
It's a lot of
It's-
emotional labor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I will say, I mean, Kim, let me know if you disagree with this, but the best part about those days when, especially you want to give up and you're going insane, there's a switch that flips in your brain where you just say, you know what, today's an accent day. Fuck it.
Yes.
And it didn't help the shift, but
Yes.
the quizzical nature of someone's eyes when you walk up and suddenly you're like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
guten Morgen,
Yeah.
what can I get for you today?
Oh my
Like
God.
that
That was
did
really
it.
good.
I can only do flamboyant. That's all I can do.
That was really fantastic.
Only because I've worked in breweries and like brew restaurants
Wow.
my entire life, only recently leaving this year.
I
but
hope that's on
those
your
days-
resume, sir.
It's a German accent.
That's really
Um,
good.
Oh, I've given somebody shit for ordering a flight. In fact, that's how I met my girlfriend.
Because you gave her
But-
shit for
'Cause you
ordering
gave
a
her shit?
flight?
Yeah, because she ordered them one at a time. And Patrice, you're
Well-
gonna kill me for talking about this, but
But also, Patrice, come on.
What a wonderful meet cute.
I know,
that
I
is-
love it.
That is adorable.
I'll
love
do a
that.
flight. But can I just get the blonde first in the 5-ounce?
She
Yeah.
just wanted you to keep coming back
Oh.
to the table
Yeah,
a bunch.
maybe
I mean,
She's
she wore an
fine.
ugly Christmas sweater, so like right off the bat, I was sold.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh.
She's
I
gonna
love
fucking
this.
kill me for bringing that up.
I
Uh,
love this.
but- All this to say, like, Kim, did you ever use your Cockney British accent for serving? Did you ever like lose your mind at that point?
You know what? There was a time where I was going through a breakup that is beyond what anyone on this podcast has ever heard.
It is.
If you think I was been sad during the times of Kim KKSAM,
it was bad.
it's
No.
bad. And I went through a dark period, and I got fired from the job I was at.
Which one?
Moved at the Roosevelt,
Oh, right.
or I didn't get
Oh,
fired.
shit.
I got asked to resign.
Right.
What?
Which I do recall being
Technically.
bummed. I do recall being
Technically.
bummed about that because they have an amazing Guinness milkshake. That
You can still go. I don't need to be there. It's fine.
it was more
I'd
fun
been
when
there
we
a
were
long time. And then I moved out of my apartment, moved in with like a bunch of girls in Venice, but just like Craigslist random people, and we're just partying all the time. And then I worked at Cabo Cantina,
Oof.
which like just even if you haven't been there, you know what that is. You
Yeah.
know what Cabo
You-
Cantina is. It has blow up beer Corona bottles
Yeah.
hanging all around it. Like
No.
it's a
They
shit show. It
actually-
is 2-for-1 like all the time, basically.
Yeah, and it also like the 2-for-1 margaritas
Oh,
are like,
mega
I'm not
margaritas.
exaggerating. They are the
It's a
size of my head.
No.
shit show.
Not exaggerating. Yeah.
It's a shit show. So I don't know what happened there, if I were to be honest. There was a lot of, you know what they did have there? They had that like espresso tequila, espresso Patron or whatever, like
Espresso
on tap.
Patron,
So we
yeah.
were
God.
always like sneaking shots of that in the bathroom, or just like in the front of the restaurant. We would just look out front because the cameras were behind us and just like do them onto the promenade. And so like I was just drunk there a lot. So like I think I'm sure accents came
I'm
out there.
positive that an accent came out. If that was or like a puppy voice. I could also see a puppy voice.
I
coming
did
out
tell
from you when
someone
you're
that
drunk.
I had a kid like a baby at home once because they didn't tip me. They stiffed me on $100 bill and then like
Ugh.
sat there like hanging out, and I was like,
Oh.
was something wrong? Like, I don't understand. And I was like, this is the only way I make money. Like, we only get money from tips. We don't get a paychecks. And like, I have a baby at home that I need to take care of. Mind you, I
Good
did
for
not
you.
have a baby at home. They did leave me a tip though.
But you could have. The point is
I
you
could have.
They don't know. That's the point.
I had myself at home that I
Yes,
needed
you
to take
did-
care of.
you
I had
did,
an
in
apartment
fact.
to pay for.
You had a tiny drunk baby at home that needed your care.
Yes.
And that drunk baby's name was Kim.
Yeah.
Me.
I had to like leave my car there a lot and Uber home often.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
It was a dark couple months.
I
Didn't
mean,
stay long.
it sounds like the movie Waiting wrapped up in a
Yes.
small Mexican cantina.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and it was wild. Like, it wasn't just me. It was the whole
Yeah.
bartenders
Oh
getting
my
like blowjobs in the bathroom. Like, it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's quite the experience.
I mean, now I know what to
I mean, to be
avoid.
fair, a lot of the bartenders were pretty hot.
It was
So,
very hot. Yeah.
sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
What is there a story that's tied?
Oh, no.
No, it wasn't me.
Your-
Yeah.
no,
Wasn't
your
me.
eyes looked on like you're reflecting on something. Hold
No,
on,
I just
what's
am
happening
reflecting
here?
on like how hot the bartenders were at Cabo Cantina a lot of times. So,
Damn. See, those hot
she was more like
bartenders.
missed opportunity.
Missed
Yeah.
opportunity. That's how I felt. Yeah. I think
Why
I
didn't
was,
I get to give a blowjob in the
Yeah.
bathroom?
I would have given a blowjob to one of those bartenders in the bathroom
Those
for
bathrooms
sure.
were disgusting
They
too.
were
Like the amount of
pretty
people that
gross.
vomit in them.
Oh god.
Right, but also like we went through like a dirty musician phase, so like I just don't feel like like those bathrooms like of like four musicians
yeah.
living in a house together.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
Yeah.
there's no bathroom that would shock me at this point. So
That's true.
Yeah, the ones that are caked in microbial nonsense. Ooh,
Oh,
God.
yeah. Microbial nonsense. That's what
That's
it's
the
called.
technical term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to get us away from this.
You're like,
You
how did
don't-
we get here? I'm so sorry.
You don't want to talk more about blowjobs and dirty bathrooms, Tyler? Is that not what your podcast is about?
I mean,
so sorry. We should
you'd be surprised. No, I drove down to New Mexico last week, stopped at a rest area to use the facilities. I think I held it in for another hour because I did not like what I heard in there. So,
Okay.
yeah, dirty
hear ya.
bathrooms, and
I would hope
really-
it was a blowjob and not a murder.
no, it was the
No.
first one.
It is hard to tell sometimes, though.
In dirty bathrooms, yeah.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
I gotta take us away from this. I'm too like goofy. I could talk about this all day. But I need to start wrapping this up for you guys. So I'm not taking the whole night
Okay.
away from you. But I do need. This is a weird segue, but I do need to
Can't wait.
ask you. Now that we've put that behind us, if you have any advice you can instill upon our listeners who are trying to get into the entertainment industry or like just a creative career in general, do you have anything you can pass along to them?
Man, this definitely feels like a, the things you wish you knew. Mine is twofold. One is I'm going to steal Kim's advice to me, which is fun has to be the top priority. Because there's so many things that aren't fun about it that you need to check in and make sure that like you are still in love with it, and then I would also say don't equate rejection with your own self-worth.
That is fantastic. Both of those especially, but the rejection is,
Yeah.
as far as mental health goes.
Yeah.
I love that one.
It's so funny.
I'll
'cause
let you
mine
know
are-
when I start following.
Yeah.
Kim's like, this bitch is giving advice. She doesn't follow her damn self.
Well, you've always been great at that.
I have been great at that.
It's always easier to say it to somebody
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah.
It's my specialty, honestly.
It's so funny because mine's like very similar. I was just going to say it in different ways. Because it was the similar thing of, wait, what's the last thing you said?
Well, I said that rejection can't be equated with your
Rejection.
self-worth.
That's what it
Yeah.
was. That you're more than the business. You're more than this part of you. You're more than whether it be acting or like you. I'm just going to say actor because that's what I have done. But like you're
Yeah.
more than an actor. You are a full, complete human being with feelings in different parts of your life. And like if all you are is an actor, I would say expand.
Yeah.
Like travel. Do all the things that you're afraid to do because you might fucking get an audition or like whatever. And that goes in alignment with like another part of it was to like be completely yourself.
Mhm.
Like don't try to fit into like what you think other people want because
Yeah.
there is no
'Cause you
real
never
answer
will.
to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what people really want is for like you to be fully you. So yeah, kind of find out who that is. And a lot of times that's much more than just that one dimension. That is just a tiny part of who you are. You are a full, beautiful human being and like explore that and enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also make creative stuff with friends. And I'm not just saying that because I make creative stuff with friends. It truly is like, it's such a, with good people, like people that you trust. That has been a lifesaver for both of us, I think, at different points, just getting to create our own stuff. So don't be afraid to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has a literal like high-tech camera in their pocket. Go make stuff.
Yeah, there's no excuse anymore, right?
Yeah.
Let's go make a movie. We need a camera, dude. Like,
We all have one.
we have an A/B. Let's just get a C and we're good.
Right.
No, those pieces of advice are fantastic, because now more than ever, especially with the pandemic and the state of the world that we're in, those who are in the arts industry are still looking at art to kind of like give us a little reprieve.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that the industry will literally just chew you up and keep going until you're nothing.
Oh yeah.
So it's great to hear all that, especially coming from people who are closer to, the Hollywood circuit, and what the machine is. You've been around it, and you found all those different ways to expand creatively and still, exist in that same area.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. We're going to start wrapping up here, because I'm way over when I initially scheduled this Zoom
fine.
call.
We're
But you're
having a
so
blast.
you're so fun to talk to.
Oh, thank you.
It's been great.
I appreciate it. It's the Sam coat.
No, I think it's your face. I like your face and talking to it.
Thank you so much.
Verb snap.
I forgot about that. I couldn't remember what his name was. Guys, listen to the podcast. Damn it. I
know that's an inside joke for our podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's going back.
Way back. Like episode 10, I think. Or
11,
something.
12.
Is it that
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
12.
Trick or Treat. Yeah.
It's
12.
wild.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hey, and it's
This
coming
movie
back to
makes sense.
theaters this
Yeah.
next month. So
Yes, I know.
fingers
So
crossed everyone can get
excited.
tickets.
Yeah.
I do need to ask you if there's anything besides, obviously, the podcast I'll give a shout out to with this episode, but if there's anything that you'd like for me to give a shout out to as well, in addition to that.
Yes. Listen to our podcast. We also are doing a virtual live show. I don't know when this is coming out. This
So
episode.
this is actually going to come out. Oh my God. Come on, calendar. You know what? I'm going to look on my computer. That's what
Okay.
computers are for. This is going to, guys, this is all staying in the recording because I am sloppy. This will come out on October 10th.
Oh, great. Okay, so we have a live show on
Great.
October 19th.
Oh, sweet.
It's a virtual live show, so everybody can come to it. And we will have information about that somewhere that you can find it on our social media and our show notes and stuff like that. But yeah,
Ooh,
October 19th.
October 19th. Oh, that's perfect. Well, I know what I'm doing on the 19th. No, that's fantastic. I do want to say, like, listening to your podcast has actually helped, my relationship, but I hope many others as well, just bonding with people who may not like horror movies right off the bat as well, and getting them into the narrative game
Yeah.
of it and having fun with it. And it's not this really wild and insanely, well, sometimes it could be crazy horrific, high tension. But like my girlfriend just asked if she wanted, or if I wanted to go see Barbarian tonight or tomorrow.
Wow, that's
That-
advanced.
So she wasn't
Yeah.
into horror when you first met?
She was a little bit. So as you can see above me, Red Eye is
Mhm.
one of the posters I have. It's one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies. Cillian Murphy is just amazing. Get lost in those
Incredible,
eyes. But that was a movie we bonded over
Sure.
because she loved it. She saw the poster in my apartment, and that was how we kind of clicked. But she has since gone fully into horror, and your podcast helped tremendously with her
Aw.
opening up to, oh, this is fun. Like, maybe we should go see a movie. Like, just
Wow.
so I wanted to say, as we're wrapping up, thank you for everything you do, because your podcast is amazing and fun and hilarious.
Thank you so much for listening. That means so
especially-
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said, Kim, that maybe you share too much with your, the dating stories, but I think that helps too.
I
It gives
agree.
everyone perspective, and you're opening up to the listeners. So yeah, don't be afraid to keep sharing, because we love it. We want you to be
Thank
happy.
you.
And this guy, hey fella, if you're listening to this for some reason, I don't know your name, so you're just gonna be Guy. I hope everything goes well. Treat her amazingly. Bond, watch horror movies, go on trips. Like, she deserves
So
it.
sweet.
So,
Thank you, thank you, thank
yeah, I just want to say thank you for everything you guys do. And as we're wrapping up the end of this recording, there's one last thing I have to do. But first, I need to ask if you've ever seen Wayne's World.
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
of course.
Wow. This is how I know we were going to be friends, because everybody else I've talked to was like, I have never really seen
She'll
it.
be mine. Oh yes,
Oh, yeah.
she will be mine.
Give it up, man. Live in the now. So
a gun rack? I'm sorry, I could just do quotes. Sorry.
I don't own a gun.
Let alone enough to constitute an entire rack. Wow, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but they're all right there.
It's all in your head, right?
surface.
Yeah. Well, we all remember the awkward scene where the Rob Lowe's character takes over their show,
Yes.
and the new like lighting system is dropped down,
Yeah.
and their camera guy is counting down from 5 and points, and they're just kind of like, and
Yeah.
Garth is by himself.
Yes.
So that is the origin point for what I like to call the awkward goodbye.
Oh my god.
So
great.
for every recording, I will do a silent Wayne's World countdown, and when I point to you, give me your best verbal awkward goodbye, and I'll stop the recording from there.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm ready.
You ready for this?
So you have to say who you're pointing to then, I guess, since we can't. If
Oh,
you
yeah,
point
I
At
to
the
mean-
same time.
I say go same time.
same time. Okay, great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes it even better. All right. Here we go. In.
Am I going? Did you want to?
Goodbye. What? Is it me?
Good-
You. Bye. Good.
Goodbye.
Bye. Good. I mean.